Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you to my colleagues for coming as well. I'm going to make the introduction. I'm going to speak for a few minutes, and then I'm going to hand over to Marcel de Graaf from the Dutch, Nicolas Bay from the French, Gerolf Annemans from the Vlaams Belang, and Marcus Pretzel from the AFD. And we will take questions and answers afterwards. This is very much a collaborative effort that's come from across the EU. It's very important for the voters at home in the UK to understand that it just doesn't affect them, that coming out of the EU is a big European decision. And the reason that I wrote the book is to show that there is solidarity. You know, the Brexiters at home are not alone, and that there's millions of people that support our cause, from Poland, from Holland to Czech Republic to Hungary, and my colleagues sitting around and those who belong to the ENF. It's quite significant also because we're rewriting the right, what's said about us. We're not extremist, we're not from the extreme right. We are now the mainstream. I hate this language that's used against us, and hopefully by looking at this and proving to the voters that we can have a fair say in the forthcoming Brexit campaign. All over Europe, people are waking up to the fact that the politics from the old right and the old parties have consistently ignored the voters, and that's why there's such a rise. You know, we're rejecting the complacency in the current politics, and a prime example of that is the current mess that Merkel's got us into with the immigration crisis and the border control across Europe. Also, that people recognise we love our cultures, which I think comes across very strongly in our book. We love Europe, we love our history, and we're rewriting history at this moment. There is a patriotic spring that is happening across Europe, and I hope on the 23rd of June the people from Britain will have their patriotic spring as well. Because from across the continent, the British people, it's important for the British people to know that we can bring this place down. Brexit will signify the start of the fall of this crumbling edifice. You take one brick out, which is Brexit from the UK, then this whole place will crumble because it is unreformable. We recognise that here. And then once we've taken that first brick out, then we can build an alliance across Europe. We can trade with our friends, we can have cooperation, but absolutely not political union. And that's why I've written my book. And now I'd like to hand over to Marcel de Graaf from the Dutch.
Thank you, Janice. Ladies and gentlemen, I gladly and fully support my dear colleague Janice Atkinson in her efforts to clarify the facts about Brexit and to convince the British people to support Brexit. Therefore, I first and for all recommend the book that she wrote about this subject together with her colleagues and which she published recently. It gives a clear insight in the nonsense put forward by the pro-EU camp, especially the scaremongering, the end of days that would fall upon us. And even this week, the Dutch government again put in their penny and said the Dutch economy would be hit harder than any other country in the EU by a Brexit. Well, not really. The UK and the Netherlands have been doing trade for ages, really for ages, long before the EU was there, and the trade was flourishing. So my guess is that after the collapse of the EU, this trade will still be there. In fact, the EU is stumbling from crisis to crisis. We have the migrant crisis, the financial crisis, banking crisis, the euro crisis, you name it. The unemployment in the EU is really terrifying. So what we all can see, if you just open your eyes, is that the EU is heading for disaster. It's a runaway train, driven in fact by Angela Merkel, and Mr. Juncker is walking by her hand. doing everything that she asks, and this runaway train is heading for a concrete wall. So, the first to get out of the EU would be the best off, would profit, would be able to start building on its own economy without the EU before the others, and the others will, in a probably uncontrolled way, find themselves in a mess when the EU finally hits that wall. So, for me, I hope that the UK will be the first, because they will be best off with a Brexit, and then they can take back control, because 80% of national legislation is in fact being dictated by the European Union, creating administrative burdens, creating uncontrolled borders, whatever. So if you in fact can get out of this EU, and Iceland recently said, well, stop these negotiations definitively, because we really don't want to be in that EU, and they have seen the light. So I congratulate them with that. But if you take back this control, then you can take back control of your borders, you can take back control of your laws, of finance, because we all know that ECB dictates factually the financial situation in the interest rates, the financial situation in the EU. And with regard to the economy, which would really collapse in Britain, I mean, what nonsense can it be? A country like Switzerland has already for years a trade agreement with China, one of the biggest economies in the world, if not the biggest. The EU is negotiating for years and years and years without one result. If you would be out of the EU, you would get this trade agreement with China and have your own interests be represented at the best way. And at this moment, we see that in all these negotiations, it are basically French, Italian, German, the German interests that are served in these TTIP and other agreements. But actually, an individual country doesn't get the best deal. It's a one size fits none. So there are a lot of myths about the disaster that would be heading the nation states if the EU would collapse, and I would like to underline that this is really absolute nonsense. So there will be no third world war, there will be no end of trade, there will be no economic collapse. On the contrary, nations would once again be free. And I can assure you that all over Europe, in all these nation states, there are political parties willing to take the lead and to work together for a new type of economic free trade. We already have something like that. We had it in the past. And these political parties are the patriotic parties. Are parties like Party for Freedom in the Netherlands, the FPÖ in Austria, but also we see them all over, and we are working together in a fraction, in a group in this European Parliament already. So I see a very, very bright future for the United Kingdom once they get out of the European Union. So.
Well, thank you very much, Marcel. That's a great analysis of where we are and where we're going. Nicolas, from the French, from the Front National.
Merci Janice, merci mesdames et messieurs. Cette conférence de presse est importante, elle est organisée en plein pendant la campagne du Brexit en Grande-Bretagne et cette publication à l'initiative de Janice Atkinson est à la fois bien sûr un bilan sans concession de ce qu'est l'Union européenne, de ses errements, de ses écueils, de ses dérives, de ses trahisons à l'égard des nations et des peuples d'Europe, mais cet ouvrage a comme particularité d'être aussi un message d'espoir. son titre Beyond Brussels, au-delà de Bruxelles, montre bien que nous ne sommes pas, nous, opposés, bien sûr, à l'Europe, comme parfois nos adversaires essayent de présenter nos positions. Bien au contraire, nous croyons à la communauté de civilisation que forment les nations européennes. Nous avons à l'évidence une identité commune, des intérêts communs, même s'ils peuvent parfois être divergents. Et nous sommes évidemment convaincus que cette Union européenne, telle qu'elle s'est construite au fil des traités, eh bien, elle va à l'encontre des intérêts fondamentaux des nations et qu'elle fait tout sauf construire l'Europe. Elle a construit un espace de libre-échange qui est un espèce de terrain de jeu aux mains de la grande finance, un espace de libre circulation des capitaux, des biens et des personnes. Et cette dérive, elle est à l'évidence contraire à tous nos intérêts les plus fondamentaux. Eh bien, cet ouvrage auquel a participé l'ensemble des représentants des délégations des groupes composant le groupe Europe des nations et des libertés montre bien que les patriotes européens aujourd'hui sont rassemblés pour proposer autre chose. Autre chose, c'est une Europe qui soit fondée sur des nations souveraines, sur des peuples libres, respectueuses des identités, des spécificités nationales. Et bien sûr, c'est le seul moyen aujourd'hui de faire à nouveau rayonner notre continent, rayonner notre civilisation européenne. L'Europe n'a jamais été aussi faible que depuis qu'elle est cadenassée entre les mains des technocrates de Bruxelles. Eh bien, c'est le sens de cet ouvrage. Je crois que la Grande-Bretagne, qui a eu parfois des périodes d'affrontement avec la France, mais qui a toujours été malgré tout lucide, peut-être le pays le plus lucide sur la construction européenne de l'ensemble du continent, puisqu'ils n'ont pas fait l'erreur de rentrer dans la monnaie unique européenne, ils n'ont pas fait l'erreur de rentrer dans les accords de Schengen. Eh bien, aujourd'hui, d'une certaine façon, ils montrent à nouveau un peu la voie en enclenchant cette possibilité du Brexit, cette possibilité non pas de sortir de l'Europe, mais de sortir de l'Union européenne et de ses dérives et de ses défauts. Eh bien, c'est une façon de montrer qu'une autre voie est possible. Une autre voie est possible, et c'est ce que nous portons. C'est donc, à l'occasion de cette conférence de presse et de la publication de ce livre, un message d'espoir que nous souhaitons délivrer. On voit bien qu'aujourd'hui, les patriotes progressent partout en Europe, partout cette vision différente de la construction européenne commence à se développer de façon spectaculaire à l'est du continent, bien sûr. Je pense à la Slovaquie, je pense à la République tchèque, je pense à la Hongrie ou à la Pologne. De façon spectaculaire, il y a quelques jours, bien sûr, en Autriche, où les patriotes ont, à défaut d'obtenir une victoire totale, ont connu un succès sans précédent. Le groupe Europe des nations et des libertés ne cesse de se renforcer. Il s'est ouvert à un élu de Roumanie il y a quelques mois. Nous avons été rejoints par Markus Pretzel, qui est représentant l'AfD. Tout ça montre bien que la dynamique est de notre côté et que la construction d'une Europe des nations est désormais un projet qui est largement partagé à travers l'Union européenne, à travers l'Europe, en alternative justement à cette Union européenne dont on s'aperçoit qu'elle est de plus en plus totalitaire dans tous les domaines, en matière monétaire, en imposant l'austérité économique, en matière migratoire aussi, en imposant la submersion migratoire dont les nations et les peuples ne veulent pas. Eh bien, face à cette situation, face à cette urgence aussi, parce que aujourd'hui très clairement c'est l'existence même des nations européennes qui peut être menacée, notamment par cette submersion migratoire. Eh bien, l'heure du printemps des nations européennes a sonné. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Nicolas. And now we have Gerolf Annemans from Van Belang of Flanders.
Thank you, Janice. I do not have much to add to what my colleagues already said and the schedule that I sketched here this morning, but perhaps this small anecdote. Last year I had the honor to travel with Marine Le Pen to Prague, searching for allies and etc. And we met Václav Klaus, who was not only the founder of the Czech Republic, but also a vivid, as a president of Czechia, a vivid opponent of the European Union and the evolution of the European Union. And we were very glad and honoured to be received by him and that he came to see us. But he turned it around and he said, no, it's my honour because I met someone who has eventually the possibility in the near future to change the path of Europe. He didn't mention it, but meaning that little member states like mine or his cannot really change or cannot really be the start of the major change that we want. Major and larger member states do have this opportunity. And so for him, the meeting with Marine Le Pen was a signal or a sign or a hopeful step forward, meeting someone who has a possibility to represent a major member state. So I just tell this anecdote to stress the fact that the other major member state in the Union is, of course, Great Britain, and that the opportunity that was not on the agenda at that moment, in the meantime we have the referendum that came up. Britain has this opportunity, this hope is incarnating the hope of many EU opponents that they will set the first step, and that Marine would have to be obliged to step the second step, or to put the second step forward. The British take the lead now, and that's why we support so full-heartedly this Brexit referendum and the campaign around this Brexit referendum. We support our British member, Janice Atkinson, with all our heart and all our effort. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Gerolf. I too was in Prague a couple of weeks ago supporting Tomio Akinora, who has actually written a chapter for the book. And the turnout on a sunny afternoon in Wenceslas Square was quite phenomenal. There were thousands and thousands of people there. That just shows that this patriotic spring is actually happening. And talking of patriotic springs, we have our newest member from Alternative for Deutschland, Markus Pretzel. Although he hasn't contributed to the book, I know that he was there winning and writing had he joined before, but he doesn't. So I'll hand the floor over to Markus now.
Thank you very much, Janice. My dear Flemish friend, it doesn't look like very much yet, but there is a third country. And we're working hard on that.
I'm sorry for that.
No.
No doubt.
I fully understand. It didn't look very much like there could be a movement from Germany to stop this continental stupidity. And then another remark to you, Marcel. Your government should meet with ours, and they should have a fight. Because our government says the economy that gets hurt the most if we get out of the European Union is the German economy and not the Dutch. So they need to have some talks with those two governments. First of all, I wish you the very best, Janice. I hope you'll succeed. I hope that the UK is going to leave the European Union. It's a bit sad for those who you leave behind, for the Germans, for the French, for the Dutch and the Flemish, and all those others, because it won't make the European Union better in any way. I think it'll get even worse after you left. But it may be, as you said, the first brick to get it out of the wall and to start something new. And maybe you are the first ones to become like countries like Switzerland, Norway, all those starving countries outside the European Union who, seems to be almost in war if you listen to Schulz and others of the European, of all those hyper Europeans that we face within the European Union. As I said before, we'll all be a bit sad if you leave, because the only some of the strongest critical voices on the European Union are from the UK. Although I have to say I've made some experience with so-called conservative MEPs from your country, and to be honest, it was an eye-opener for me, because it's one thing they talk like in the public, and another thing, what they are doing in the plenary when it comes to a vote. And it's even another thing what they do in the if it comes to a vote, not in the plenary, but in for example in econ or in all those committees. So I wish you the best, and I think Britain should be very proud to have politicians who stand for their convictions like you do and who fight for them, although it's maybe not for the best of a political career, but you're fighting for your country, and that should make the people in the UK very proud that they have an MEP like you, and maybe this starts something also not only in the European Union but also back home in the UK, and maybe change a system that is linked to a two-party system that should be broken up also in your country. Thank you very much for your work.
Oh, thank you for those kind words. I never went into politics as a career politician. I'd like to be made redundant on June the 23rd, so the work starts on June the 24th to actually untangle this mess that my country has found itself in. You're absolutely right about the British Conservatives as well. I used to be one of them. It was quite shocking what they would say on the doorsteps and get reselected onto the PR list, and then what they do over here. There's a handful of very, very genuine. And at home, you just think it's the Boris Gove, Elliott and Cummings show. It isn't. It's important to point out that actually MEPs matter. And that's why I launched this press conference and my book over here. I did think about doing it in London, but actually we get a better press, funnily enough, actually, across the European press. Who seem to be fairer, straighter. My interviews with the European and also worldwide press are much more straightforward and is reported in a more straightforward way, particularly last week when I visited the migrant hotspots. I went to Greece. And I was the only British politician to do this, I think, consistently, and I've been to Calais consistently. I might get a bit on BBC Radio Kent, and that's about it. That's as far as it goes. Yesterday, the camp that I went to a few days ago in Domeni on Lesbos was cleared. And I woke up to on BBC Radio 4, the Today programme. I love waking up to John Humphreys. I sincerely do. And I put out a tweet, I rang them up and said, look, I'm here. I was there last week. Do you want to have a chat? Silence. So that's why I'm doing it in Brussels. Now I'm going to hand the floor over to our journalists that are here. If you could just say your name and your media outlet and who you wish to address your question to. Over to you. Yes.
Yes, Pierre-Emmanuel Thoman from the blog Eurocontinent, specialized in European affairs and geopolitics. Oui, oui. Oui, c'est vrai, il y a la traduction. Donc, je vais poser ma question en français, sera plus précis. J'ai l'impression que sur la question du Brexit, il y a une panique dans les instances, les promoteurs de l'intégration fédérale. C'est non pas tellement le fait que les Britanniques sortent, mais c'est parce que ce serait révélateur d'une autre rivalité qui est depuis longtemps, qui a toujours été à la source même d'ailleurs du projet, mais qui fait que cette rivalité, on n'arrive pas à en parler de manière franche, et c'est la nouvelle rivalité franco-allemande. Et cette nouvelle rivalité franco-allemande entre les gouvernements successifs français-allemands qui continuent à promouvoir cette intégration européenne, alors même que leurs peuples sont de plus en plus sceptiques, font semblant de s'entendre pour une Europe intégrée, alors qu'en fait, ils n'ont pas la même vision du tout. Et le fait que la Grande-Bretagne, si elle sortait, ça mettrait en évidence ce clivage énorme. Ce clivage, et on parlerait enfin des vraies questions. Et on pourrait, avec le Brexit, enfin montrer que la vision s'il y a une vision de l'Europe intégrée entre la France et l'Allemagne, c'est pas la même. Donc c'est une voie fermée, c'est impossible. Et on verrait qu'il n'y a que l'Europe des nations qui est l'alternative et qui pourrait remettre un équilibre d'ailleurs entre la France et l'Allemagne et coopérer avec la Grande-Bretagne, parce qu'il y a l'illusion en ce moment à l'intérieur des institutions des gouvernements français et allemands qu'en gardant la Grande-Bretagne, on va cacher ce clivage et on va permettre à la Grande-Bretagne d'équilibrer un petit peu l'Allemagne pour les Français, tout en continuant l'intégration, et pour les Allemands de ne pas apparaître trop fort. Et ce qui fait que pensez-vous de cette idée, en fait? Et si le Brexit ne se produit pas, comment pourrait-on, en fait, montrer que la Grande-Bretagne pourrait essayer de pousser à montrer qu'il y a un autre clivage important qui pourrait, en fait, essayer de déconstruire ce projet d'Europe fédérale pour revenir à une Europe des nations?
I agree with you. I think that's down to my French and German colleagues to answer that one. I would never seek to actually speak on behalf of another nation, unlike the President Obama that came to my country recently and tried to do that. But, you know, you are seeing this realignment, this questioning from Austria to Poland. I mean, look what's happening to Poland. You know, it's got a decent right-wing government in there. This place wants to bring them into the parliament so they can question. They want sanctions against them. You know, Viktor Orban, Conservatives, sits with Angela Merkel's EPP party. So it is happening, you know, that this old Axis alliance is being questioned. But I'll hand over to first the French and then the Germans, if you'd like to comment. Nicolas.
Oui, merci. C'est vrai que c'est une vraie question. On voit bien qu'il y a une angoisse des partisans de l'Europe fédérale dans la perspective de ce Brexit qui est possible et qui est souhaitable à la fois pour les intérêts de la Grande-Bretagne, les intérêts immédiats de la Grande-Bretagne, mais aussi sans doute pour les intérêts communs des différents pays européens. Je crois qu'il y a deux aspects. D'abord, je crois que ce qui les inquiète, c'est l'idée qu'on puisse sortir de l'Union européenne et très bien se porter et mieux se porter après, ce qui évidemment créerait un appel d'air, donnerait des idées à d'autres pays qui se sentent un peu enfermés dans ce carcan de l'Union européenne, qui ne voient pas forcément comment en sortir et qui verraient finalement que c'est parfaitement possible et que ça permettrait de retrouver la prospérité économique, les libertés politiques, les libertés individuelles, la maîtrise des frontières, la sécurité, etc. Et puis, je crois qu'il y a un autre aspect, c'est qu'ils ont vendu, nos adversaires, nos partisans de l'Europe fédérale, ont vendu l'idée que l'Europe c'est la paix, or l'Europe fédérale c'est la guerre. Le fédéralisme européen, les contraintes imposées aux différents pays, sans prendre en compte leur spécificité, sans prendre en compte leurs intérêts, aboutit à une situation de tension, voire de conflit à l'intérieur du continent européen. On l'a très bien vu avec la crise grecque. Et on peut très bien à la fois défendre l'idée d'une civilisation commune et d'une volonté de travail commun entre les nations européennes, tout en actant aussi le fait que nous pouvons avoir des intérêts divergents et que nous pouvons être, notamment sur la question économique, en compétition. Il y a évidemment une compétition économique entre les pays européens, et ça n'est, je crois, pas choquant de le souligner. Et voilà. Et donc je crois que finalement une construction européenne respectueuse des nations et des peuples, une construction européenne qui permette aux pays de défendre efficacement leurs intérêts, eh bien ça c'est la garantie de la paix sur le continent européen, alors que le fédéralisme européen, la construction d'une Europe de plus en plus totalitaire telle qu'elle est défendue par les technocrates à Bruxelles, eh bien c'est la garantie au contraire de conflits à l'intérieur du continent européen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marcus, the German view.
Well, of course, there are German interests, there are French interests, and sometimes they're different. Yes, that happens. And that shouldn't be a problem, because the people in our countries have some common interest. And that means we should force back the European Union, or the bureaucracy in the European Union. And what we should have in Europe is a common market. Yes, France could benefit from that, Germany can benefit from that, and everybody else can. But what we don't need are restrictions all over the European Union. And that's what Brussels does. Brussels is not about a common market, but about common restrictions, and that's completely different. So I'm very confident that we'll have a German-French partnership in the near future again.
I promise you we won't go to war with you. Armageddon's not going to happen. World War III isn't going to happen. The plague of locusts isn't going to come down. And I'll still keep buying your Mercedes and drinking your wine, Nicola. So it's not going to happen. Anybody else like to ask a question? No? Come on. Our time is over, apparently. So if you'd like to join us in another room, I'm told, there will be tea, coffee and orange juice served. And I'll do book signing if that's where you'd like to come and follow us. Thank you.